I miss you. I'm so glad we're here together. I can picture you, and you are looking good. Since you're watching me on a screen, let's take advantage of this technology and play a game together. Are you willing? A 2-question Torah trivia contest about the first human beings in the Torah, Adam and Eve. Our tradition teaches we are all descendants of Eve and Adam. Many of you know that Adam and Eve chose to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge, the legendary and infamous apple, even though God told them not to. But do you know the answer to these questions? Question 1, when God asked Adam why Adam ate the apple, what does Adam tell God? Did Adam say A, I wanted knowledge, B, Eve made me eat it, C, the fruit looked amazing, so I took a bite, or D, hey, let's put a giant one of these behind the center field fence at the future New York Mets baseball stadium? Say your answer out loud. Question number 2. When God asked Eve why Eve ate the apple, did Eve say, A, I wanted knowledge, B, the fruit looked amazing, so I took a bite, C, I am woman, hear me roar, or D, the snake made me eat it? Say your answer out loud. Gentle people, your time is up. Thank you for playing. The correct answers are Adam tells God, Eve made me eat it, and Eve tells God, the snake made me eat it. Each of them chose independently and willingly to eat the apple. Yet when God challenges them to take responsibility for their actions, Adam blames Eve, and Eve blames the snake. Oy vey. A few verses later, after Cain commits fratricide, God asked him, where is your brother Abel? And Cain retorts, am I my brother's keeper? These stories are 2 of at least a dozen Torah tales whose goal is the same, to teach the timeless charge we must take responsibility for our behavior. This core value is fundamental to being a Jewish person. It's at the heart of these high holy days. Now you might think we would get a reprieve from the work of self-examination and repair when we are in the middle of a plague. In fact, the opposite is true. This is because when we do the work of taking responsibility for our actions, we reveal astute answers to our most pressing questions. Just how will I find my way through this storm? How can I remain strongly connected to my loved ones even though we are driving each other crazy? And how can I best contribute to my struggling community? This is a year unlike any other. We are entering month 7 of the pandemic. Each of us has been impacted. Going out to dinner, grocery shopping, and entering an elevator now gives us agita. Jobs have been uprooted. Family members and friends have suffered. Some have died. And now fall has arrived. With the return to colder weather, school, threat of flu, and more, my friends, we are in it, navigating one of the most difficult periods of our lives. For millennia, the practice of taking responsibility for our actions has kept our people centered, humble, and grounded. Each of us has flaws. This comes with our humanity. Instead of denying, excusing, and ignoring our mistakes, Judaism encourages us to do these 3 things: reflect upon our missteps, repair any damage done, and then resolve to live better. This is hard work, and the reward for doing so, priceless. the punishment for not, heartbreaking, and worse. These high holy days ask each of us first to reflect upon our actions. In Hebrew, this is called a cheshbon hanefesh, an accounting of our soul. I have good news and bad news about this soul accounting. Bad news first, we are not perfect. And now the good news, we are not perfect. This was true for Adam and Eve, and it's true for each of us. We live in a world where perfection is dangled before us as attainable, as a goal we should strive towards. A captivating concept, but not a Jewish one. Imperfection, teshuvah, and cheshbon hanefesh, now these are Jewish notions. Just how are we to do an accounting of our soul? There is no TurboTax software for this one. For many, the pandemic has starkly revealed our strengths and weaknesses. We can harness this insight and assist us in assessing our behavior. We can utilize the Jewish teaching that urges us to ask these questions of ourselves. How have I been treating myself? How have I been treating the most important people in my life? How have I been treating other people? And how do I want to improve the way I behave towards myself, my loved ones, and others? We can write our answers into a journal, record them into our phones, and discuss them with trusted friends and family. For generations, Jews on Rosh HaShanah have reviewed their deeds. The time for us to engage in this sacred task has arrived. After we reflect, the repair work begins. When I was young, television's most popular show was called Happy Days. Its protagonist was the indomitable Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz. He was a mensch who happily cloaked himself in 1950s cool leather jackets, motorcycles, and hair product, lots of hair product. The Fonz did everything right, except he could not admit when he was wrong. When he tried to say the word, he would get stuck. He'd go, I was rude. It was funny and utterly human. The Fonz knew when he had erred, but his repair skills were pathetic. I'm sure we know people with the same problem. Perhaps we are that person. Thankfully, even in our perfection-obsessed society, there are individuals who have been able to make amends after their mistakes. 1,000,000 years ago, or what feels like that, on March 9th, NBA star Rudy Gobert downplayed reporters' questions about the coronavirus. Then he playfully touched every microphone that surrounded him. 2 days later, Mr. Gobert was the first player to be diagnosed with COVID in the NBA, and they suspended the season. What captured my attention was his statement after he was diagnosed. He wrote, I am embarrassed. I would like to publicly apologize to the people that I may have endangered. I was careless and make no excuse. Then he donated more than $500,000 to assist people affected by COVID. Consider what type of nation we would be living in if public figures who made mistakes in sports, business, and government always took responsibility for their behavior. In the 12th century, Maimonides taught teshuvah, Hebrew for return and repair, occurs when one admits a mistake, expresses regret, and vows not to repeat the hurtful action. For centuries, this has been our blueprint. Apologies are central to repair. Linguist Robin Lakoff teaches that sincere apologies are basic to our social interactions. Egregious wrongs cannot be made right without them. Sincere means a clear, direct statement of regret with no qualifications. I'm sorry if you were offended is not acceptable. When we are on the receiving end of an apology, our obligation is to listen and seriously consider the expression of regret. An apology is not the only act that results in healing, but it is often a first step, a big one. After an apology, thorough healing still takes time, in some cases years, but it can happen. We have the time to do this repair work. As I prepared for this new year, I identified some wrongs I needed to repair. An instance when I did not take care of myself. An event when I should have stood up for a black friend. And more than a few times when I acted poorly towards someone I love. I find it challenging to say I'm sorry. There's a reason why Adam and Eve didn't apologize and why us humans avoid doing so. It is emotionally demanding to face our flaws. It requires courage and can be embarrassing. Our tradition recognizes that genuine apologies can assist in restoring our relationships. They lead to our growth and positive change and help us to sleep at night. And trust me, we need our sleep. Maimonides also wrote about how easy it is to repeat our misdeeds. We are imperfect after all. Once we reflect and repair, it is important to complete one last step, resolve to improve. Pirkei Avot teaches one good deed will bring another good deed. One transgression will bring another transgression. Many of us have experienced the practical truth of this rabbinic wisdom. One mitzvah leads to another. The hardest part is often at the start. Change is essential, and it is tough. Our family and friends, professionals such as doctors and therapists, journaling and flat-out willpower can help us change. Here at Central, our community worship, study, meditations, and relationships with each other can also help and to strengthen our resolve. When we finish reading a book of Torah here, we proclaim, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitz hazek. Be strong, and together we will be strengthened. We say this because when we study Torah, pray, and engage in community with one another, we are strengthening our pledge to being the people we want to be. So it is with us tonight. Together, we bolster each other. In the beginning, there was Adam and Eve. We may be their descendants, but we do not have to repeat their mistakes. We can forge another path forward. This new year, it's going to demand the best from us. Our loved ones demand the best from us. Our world demands our best. As we welcome in Rosh HaShanah with apples and honey and with gratitude for our very lives, let us commit to taking responsibility for our behavior. Let us reflect on our past, repair what we have broken, and resolve to do our best within our given time. Shana Tova.